Hello there, and thank you and welcome, and thank you for tuning in. And today we're doing Chapter 8 in the Rhetorical Act and Chapter 3 in Reading Pop Culture. Let's get into the Rhetorical Act. Now, this is talking about challenges arising from the audience. So before we go into the challenges, we need to know our audience. So there's 4 types of audience. There's the empirical audience. What's that, you say? It is who is being exposed to your rhetorical act or persuasion. And then there's your target audience, which is really who are you trying to reach in your speech, your whatever medium you're using. Third, we have agents of change. So these are the people that will change things, shake things up, be able to actually do something right here, right now. And then there's the created audience, which is who are you trying to empower? So now that we know our 4 types of audiences, we can talk about audience-related challenges. And so there's 4 main things, just like there's 4 types of audiences. So one is inattention, and this is primarily for the people that it would primarily happen to your empirical audience, which is the people, remember, that are just being exposed to it, not your target or who you're trying to empower. But also it could affect the agents of change. So if you're not interesting, they're not gonna want to help your cause. They're not gonna want to create change. And then there's misperception, which involves stereotyping and distortion. And that can affect all of them. So if you... I'm sorry. So this means that they're not perceiving what you're trying to say because they could have a certain attitude that doesn't go along with what you're trying to convey. Similar with a belief. Maybe they don't believe in abortions and you're trying to get more funding for Planned Parenthood. They might not like that. And then there's also decoding, which means people are trying to always understand messages and relationships and figure out what is trying to be said, and sometimes they might just not get the right they might not get the right message that you're trying to convey. And then we have the third one, which is lack of motivation, and that one really sucks because you can't enact change if you don't have any motivation. And it's because people get motivation and act for certain reasons. They typically pursue goals, and it says that, the book taught me that people need certain things to be motivated, and also if their values don't line up with that, then they are likely to be motivated to help you on your quest. The fourth is inertia, which is resistance to change, powerless. So inertia typically meant that an object in motion likes to stay in motion, but it also means an object in rest likes to stay at rest. Say you're dealing with our issues of plastic pollution. Now you could say, let's use less plastic. Well, we're already using plastic and we don't want to stop inertia. We don't want to have to change too much to contribute and to help. Changes in behavior can make it hard for certain audiences to want to change and want to actually help. But sometimes if you are a really good speaker and you're giving a speech, and sometimes something will just resonate with someone and they'll be like, wow, I should stop using plastic because less than 4% of our plastic is even recycled, and it's all just ending up in the ocean and hurting animals. And those are the people that you inspire. Those are the created audience that may come out of nowhere and they're empowered and it's awesome, and maybe they'll turn into agents of change, and that's always the goal with our audience. So that was chapter 8 in our Rhetorical Act. Now we're moving on to chapter 3. Okay. Now, in chapter 3, we are talking about, let's see. Okay. That's chapter 3 is all about technology, and our first article is by Nikhil Saval. Wall of Sound, the iPod has changed the way we listen to music. Now, that is 100% true, because there used to be the Walkman, the boombox, and all sorts of different things. So we have really evolved with the iPod, and now people can listen to music on their own time, by themselves. Even if they're with other people, they can all just listen to their own iPods. So it's similar, as in a few vlogs back, there was an article that kind of talked about how we're alone together. We're listening to our own music with other people. They gave an example that you could go into a college dorm room and there'll be a stereo playing, but each roommate will have their own earbuds in listening to something else. We're alone, but we're alone together. So iPods have totally changed the way we look at music, the way we access music, and it's become so effortless almost, because the music industry doesn't fully care if you pay that $1.99, I think that's what it is now, for that song, because you already bought their expensive iPod. So I just found that one super interesting, and I don't know, I hope you found that interesting too. So our next essay is The Judgment of Famous. This is written by Neil Postman. That's a fun name, Postman. And this one's interesting in that it actually talks about technology in how our culture has become reliant on it. And have you tried going technology free for a day? It's really hard. So we're very reliant on it, and we can't stop. But we're also not realizing that this progress is creating unfulfilling needs and creating unfulfilling needs, and we're craving the next big thing. We want the new iPhone, all these different things. And because there's so many different iPhones out there. There's Samsung, now Google. Not sure what happened to BlackBerry, but they were actually pretty good. Apple, Samsung, Google, what's the industrial ones? Nokia. Nokia has a smartphone now. It's not just the little one that doesn't break, and it's iconic for that. But there's a lot of negative effects that we're not thinking about with this technology boom and wanting the newest and greatest thing. So we just need to remember that we need to look at the good and the bad and we should try to figure out what might be these, whether it be good or bad, future outcomes because of this technology. So we just need to be aware that we're addicted and we need help. That we abuse technology and could be more harmful than good sometimes. Our third essay is Gin Television and Social Surplus by Clay Shirkley. Now, this article talks about how we have moved from, not suburban, but, rural to urban life, and we now have more time on our hands. We have more free time, and this has caused, at least in the beginning, confusion of what to do with our free time. Now, in the Industrial Revolution, people would just get drunk with gin all the time, and that is what we did in our free time. But now we also love sitcoms and television, and we would so much rather spend time doing that and watching series after series, binge watching Netflix, than doing something productive. But then we get to social surpluses, which is really interesting because there's so many social media platforms out there with Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. There was Vine for a while. Apparently Venmo. But there's so many social media platforms, and it's a social surplus, and we can do so many things on our phones with just a few clicks. But maybe we shouldn't spend so much of this time on these things, and maybe we should put it towards creating goals and making more a more productive free time, and maybe even spending it with other people, because we are so dependent on our technology that we almost think of it as our best friend, our assistant. But yeah, so that's the third essay. It talks about a lot how we have free time, and this is what we do with it, because that's what we have. We could drink, we could watch TV, or we could go on social media and do things like that. And yeah. So next we're going to talk about Love the One You're Near, Jennifer Bayer, which she talks a lot about online dating apps, like Tinder and Grindr, and how they're all based on location and photos. Like, they're not, there's no actual matching involved. It's, oh, you're near this person? There you go. But it's very interesting because people are not getting into serious relationships anymore. Well, not all, but for the most part, there's not as many serious relationships because we just use these apps and we find new casual relationships. And instead of finding real and genuine relationships on our own and in our own lives, we look to see just who's near us to be friends with when we're feeling lonely. However, Jennifer Blair does talk about the positives with the negatives, and it was a really interesting read. So I hope you enjoyed this blog, and have a great day.